All right, let's talk about George Karlaftis training with Tamba, Andy Reid having no recollection of who Packers QB Jordan Love is, Chiefsaholic now a wanted fugitive on the run, and look at updated reports on the Chiefs wide receiver situation. But first, how about those? All right, to start things off, over the weekend, some interesting things happened on social media. The Chiefs released a couple of videos on Twitter and maybe other places. I didn't check, but two of those videos had audio snippets of my voice in them. It was pretty wild. One was the intro to the linebacker Drew Tranquill signing, and another was an intro to safety Mike Edwards and his signing. The Chiefs just signed safety Mike Edwards, formerly of the Bucs. The Chiefs signed free agent linebacker Drew Tranquill. Last year, he posted 146 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 1 interception, and 4 passes defense. I mean, you gotta love that. And both times, I expressed complete surprise to be included in official videos from the Chiefs social media team because it was a complete surprise. And you know what? Not only can they use my audio snippets anytime they'd like, since they seem to watch some of my videos and could be watching now, this is an open invitation to partner on a video in the future. You know, if you'd like to. Anyway, let's move on because there was a flurry of small Chiefs updates real quick. Chiefs defensive end George Karlaftis could be seen out there training with Chiefs legend Tamba in a short Instagram video posted by the legend himself. And you know what? I like that a whole lot. It was also announced over the weekend via an Instagram post from Trent McDuffie that he will now be scooping up Juan Thornhill's number since he's gone and signed with the Browns, putting McDuffie back in the number he wore in college, his college days. He shared a photo of him with the number 22 saying, "Return of the Mac." So if you bought his jersey last year, sorry, don't know what to tell you. He's number 22 this year. And then we got to talk about some wide receiver updates, news and rumors. But first, there's an interesting Chiefsaholic update that came out today. And this is the first update I've done on this man since my initial video on him back in December. And in case you have no idea what I'm even talking about, here's a brief refresher. Back in December, the Chiefs superfan known as Chiefsaholic to the public, you know, the wolf mask guy that drove to every Chiefs game and had a huge social media following where he'd troll around and make a bunch of memes. Well, he was later revealed to go by the name of Xavier Babudar, and the reason why we know his actual name is because on his way to the Chiefs versus Texans game, he went missing, or so everyone thought, and was concerned for his well-being, but it was revealed that he was actually arrested for robbing a bank in Bixby, Oklahoma. I mean, the man was literally caught in the area with the fake gun he used to allegedly rob the bank and a bag of money. But I did a full video on this back in December. Check it out if you want more details. But the update was this. As Chiefsaholic was out on bail prior to the Super Bowl, he was staying at a hotel in the area on house arrest, or hotel arrest, I guess you could call it. Well, the update is this man removed his ankle monitor. I mean, he cut it off with the teeth from his wolf mask. Okay, he didn't actually use his wolf mask, but he did cut off his ankle monitor on Saturday night and skipped a court hearing that was today, Monday, March 27th, and he now has a warrant out for his arrest, and if found, he's going to be held on $1 million bond. So, this man is now wanted and on the run like Harrison Ford in The Fugitive, but my question is, where does he think he's going to go and hide? Stay tuned for that answer on our next episode of Where Has the Wild Wolf Man Ran Off To after he gets caught in the next week or so. And speaking of a man with ankle problems, you know, because Xavier had an ankle monitor, let's move on from him to another much more upstanding man with ankle problems of his own, and that is QB Patrick Mahomes, because we know he played through most of the playoffs on a high ankle sprain. Well, Andy Reid is at the annual league meetings in Phoenix, Arizona, and has spoke with a few members of the media, even giving them an update on Mahomes' ankle, saying, quote, "He didn't have to get anything done," talking about surgery. "He's doing good. He feels good. This time he jumped right back into workouts and working the ankle, rehabbing the ankle. He's lifting and running the parts that he could run, and he didn't miss a beat on that." So great news there. It looks like Mahomes the alien is able to avoid surgery and back in the lab with trainer Bobby Stroop already going nuts. Anyway, Coach Reid also sat awkwardly close in this interview with Steve Weichai, a national reporter for NFL Network. And man, this is a little too close for comfort. Hopefully it was a nice, intimate interview though. And on the subject of Andy Reid, a hilarious clip surfaced where he was asked about Packers QB Jordan Love, and Big Red had no recollection of who this man even was.
Who's that? Jordan Love? trying to remember Jordan Love.
Packers, he started that game when Rodgers missed it because of COVID.
Oh, yes, absolutely, yeah. No, I thought what I remember, I thought he was good.
It's okay, coach. He had a pretty forgettable performance against the Chiefs back when Aaron Rodgers had the vid and Jordan Love had to step up and play in his absence. It was just funny that the Chiefs played against them. They had to prepare to go against Jordan Love, and Andy Reid had no recollection of who this man even was. Anyway, let's move on to some names that seem very familiar to Chiefs Kingdom because it's all we've been hearing about in regards to wide receiver moves this offseason, and that is Odell Beckham Jr. and DeAndre Hopkins. Well, James Palmer, he had an update on the Chiefs wide receiver core today, and it was basically not really anything new. The Chiefs' plan was originally to bring back the same core of receivers, those they currently have signed, obviously, MVS, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and of course, Travis Kelce, even though he's a tight end, but also basically wide receiver one. It's confusing. And then they wanted to bring back Juju Smith-Schuster. The problem is Palmer reported that the Chiefs, quote, weren't even going to get near the numbers offered to him by the Patriots. So Juju signed a 3-year, $33 million deal with New England, and the Chiefs now are apparently keeping an eye on both Odell Beckham Jr. and DeAndre Hopkins, though they are certainly in no rush and won't break the bank for either of them. Well, about D-Hop, apparently Sal Cappuccino, not really Capiccio. He's a beat reporter for the Buffalo Bills. He said he keeps hearing at the owners' meetings the team to watch for DeAndre Hopkins is the Chiefs. Said he also heard the Bills feel really good about what they've already added in free agency to wide receivers. So it looks like the Bills may not be as into D-Hop as initially reported. And it was also reported today that the Arizona Cardinals are actually now allowing other teams to speak with D-Hop and help facilitate a trade. Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated said, quote, the Cardinals' initial ask to get a second rounder and another asset for Hopkins seems to have fallen flat, and there are teams waiting to see the price come down in the wake of the Brandon Cooks trade. To try to facilitate something, I'm told Arizona has granted teams permission to talk to Hopkins and his agents. Breer then said, but the combination of his age, injury history, and friction with the teams he's played for has made him a tougher sell than I think the Cardinals anticipated. One way creatively they could improve the give back from another would be to pick up part of Hopkins' $19.45 million base salary for this year before trading him. And yeah, that certainly is much more intriguing to me. Many of you know I was initially not very pro D-Hop in a trade for him, especially if it was going to take a second round draft pick, another asset, and the team was going to have to take on D-Hop's current salary. My thoughts around him began changing once D-Hop went on to the Pat McAfee show and said he would work with the team on about his current deal and get that figured out. And even now, the fact that the Cardinals know they probably won't get a second round pick for him and also need to possibly pick up part of his $19.5-ish million salary this year before trading him, that makes things sweeter indeed. What do you guys think about that update on D-Hop? Does it make more sense now for the Chiefs to at least keep tabs on the potential option to trade for him, or are you still a hard into the O? Either way, this is smokescreen season, and I have absolutely no idea what is going to end up happening here for the Chiefs at wide receiver. What I do know is this: Brett Veach absolutely has a plan. They could have afforded to re-sign Mecole Hardman. They could have afforded to re-sign Juju Smith-Schuster. They even could have afforded to sign some of the initial free agent wide receivers that have gone on to other teams as well, but they made the intentional decision not to do so. Now, the free agent wide receivers, maybe they offered them something and they weren't interested. I don't know, but they could have gotten Mecole, and they definitely could have gotten Juju if they wanted them, chose not to. They have something planned. Of course, they possibly need a bit more cap room first before they can do much of anything, so maybe, just maybe, a Chris Jones extension is incoming. Fingers crossed. I also believe Veach will leave no stone unturned, including even inquiring about a receiver from the 49ers. Now, I have no inside source here, but it was reported that the 49ers have received interest in wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk from teams hoping they can trade for him, but the Niners intend to keep Aiyuk. At least that is what initially is reported, but they could find themselves in a situation next offseason, however, where they can't afford two high-end wide receivers like offensive tackle in that situation this year, but those decisions will/can Wait, yeah, so basically their GM John Lynch said today that the Niners plan to exercise Aiyuk's 5th-year option, which will pay the wide receiver $14.12 million in 2024. So he's only got a cap hit of $3.9 million this year. Next year, though, a little over $14 million. The problem is Deebo Samuel's cap hit next year is going to be $28.5 million. So you'd have Aiyuk at $14 million and Deebo at $28.5 million. And therefore, the 49ers could look ahead at the potential possibility of trading Aiyuk because of that fact and get valuable draft capital out of this man while the iron is hot. After all, Aiyuk is coming off of 8 touchdowns and 1,000+ yards last season, and teams know this man is a great player and also know that the 49ers cannot afford to pay every player on this team, and therefore have inquired about trading for Brandon Aiyuk. Could one of those teams have been the Chiefs? Quite possibly, yes. Brett Veach will always look to add weapons for Mahomes. He said that himself. Plus, the Chiefs really do need some sort of addition at the wide receiver room. I mean, you guys cannot deny that. But is this trade likely to happen? Dude, I have no idea. You guys got to let me know your current wide receiver thoughts, including thoughts on Brandon Aiyuk and the Chiefs trading for him, or maybe your updated thoughts on the DeAndre Hopkins situation, even if either of those trades aren't extremely likely. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?